like I said, we landed in Saint Maxime.
Yeah.
I was still with that replacement depot. I was still driving. So what I was doing is driving troops back, from Marseille up to the front, wherever they were going. And then, when we got to Epinal, they start picking troops out, to go into different units. The guy picked me. Lucky.
And so for that period you were driving, and to get from Italy back to France, is that when you were on that boat with the big
with the
barrage balloon?
Right.
Okay.
We left Naples and there was a big convoy. In fact, we hit a storm. It was between Corsica and Sardinia. Some of the small vessels, escort had to leave. The storm was so. I never saw water that bad. I saw sailors vomiting. That's how bad it was.
Did you?
Regular sailers.
Did you
I
get
was
sick?
down in the bottom of the boat. I was scared.
But you weren't nauseated?
Oh yeah, I was nauseated. Luckily I didn't throw up. What happened on this ship? Now I don't know what happened. Somehow or other, the ship got hit with a wave broadside, and it was an old ship, and it had. Usually on the troop ships they have stainless steel mirrors and all, but this one had glass. And when we got hit with this whatever it was, the glass broke, and we can hear the glass and the latrines breaking, and we thought we were torpedoed. So a little bit, we started to panic a little bit. We had French troops on besides us, and we started to panic a little. Then finally they started announcing. They said they spoke in French first, then they spoke in English. And they said, "Don't panic, get back to your bunks." They said, "We just got hit with a wave. Everything is secure and all," and that's it. The next day, when I got up on deck, we were the only ones with a barrage balloon, and they had stuff lashed on the deck. It was all gone. All that stuff that was on the deck. I never saw water that bad.
Wow.
It was mean.
Wow.
And then the seas, when we got off in Saint Maxime, when we got off the ship, I guess the seas to me looked like 20 feet. Because we'd go down on the nets. They had the Higgins boats. That's how we went in the shore. We climbed down on the net, and all of a sudden, you look down, that darn Higgins boat must have been 20 feet below. You had to wait till it came back up.
Holy
But luckily, there was no resistance. The fighting was over towards
the front line
Marseille, Toulon, and all that. We were way over in Saint Maxime. And during not recently, but ever since the war is over, I read a lot about the partisans in France and all. And one of the women that was she was the head of a partisan group in southern France, and she lived there in Saint Maxime. Who knew that? I didn't know it then. I just know it now after reading all these stories.
Oh, okay.
That's about all I can tell you.
What and you were driving after you got off the boat, you began driving the replacements to the respective spots.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember talking to any of those guys, or was it just you were doing your job driving them and they were?
Well, they'd always have a non-commissioned officer up front with them, because I was driving a 6x6.
6x6, what's that mean?
It's a 2.5-ton truck, had the tandems in the back. You see tandem wheels in the back.
Yeah.
2, 4, 6.
Yeah.
It had 8 wheels in the back. And you put the troops in the back. I forget how many go, but always one non-com would sit up front with them, and we just transport them where they were going until Epinal. Then when I got to Epinal, then they pulled me out.
What kind of drive was it? Like a 2-hour drive, or what kind of?
Yeah, it was. Let me try to think about that. I don't remember.
Don't remember?
Really. It was quite a drive, because I remember on the way back we unloaded some troops in, I think it was Besançon. We unloaded some troops. It was quite a distance, because on the way back we stopped at this. We all stopped at this one place where there was a Red Cross place there, and they gave us coffee and donuts and all that before we went back to where we were. But that's it.
Did you did the GIs sit in the back? Were they sitting down? Did they have places to sit and all that?
Yeah, regular GI. Haven't you ever seen a military vehicle?
Yeah, I think I can picture it with the canvas top.
Yeah.
And so during this period, would you sleep? Where did you sleep at night?
Well, we'd go back and we had tents. We had cots. We'd sleep there. In fact, we got into. They moved it up into the unit I was with, that Repel Depot. they moved it into Bessenkamp, and they had a small prison camp for soldiers, German soldiers in Bessenkamp. So I don't know.
Did you, what kind of food did you eat during that period?
Well,
K rations?
Yeah, K rations mostly, but in fact, it was always K ration.
Did you get to heat it up and have a hot?
If we were in a basic area, we could.
Yeah.
Let's see. When I was in the Ripple Depot, though, wait a minute, they might have had. I think they had a kitchen. They had a regular kitchen. She's got the phone. They have a mobile kitchen, the Army.
Yeah.
And it's with stoves, with gas stoves, gasoline stoves and all. And when we were in the area, they probably heated it up for us.
Yeah.
But the basic rations was K rations.
And what was the K ration? What was in it?
They gave you a little box, looked like a Cracker Jack box. And there was a little can, a breakfast can had eggs and ham in it. And there was a little pack of, I think, 3 cigarettes, a couple of things of candy. And at night, the same can, but it had some kind of meat dish or fish dish, tuna fish, something like that. And always give you the cigarettes. They always gave you the cigarettes with it.
Yeah. And did y'all get showers regularly?
No, showers, no.
When
Showers were hard to come by. We used to wash, we used to take sponge baths.
Yeah.
Gee,
With
don't-
cold water, or would y'all heat up
Cold.
some water?
If you were in a basic camp, you could. There's times when we were, like the division headquarters, then we could heat up water because we knew we were going to stay there. And then I forget how often the engineers would come up with the showers, and they'd pump the water right out of the river.
Hot water would
Well,
it heat
they
up?
pump cold water into these big vats. They'd set up these big canvas vats, and they'd pump the water out of the rivers into that, and then they'd heat it. And somehow or other they had showers hooked up, and if you were lucky, you could get into them showers.
So for a long time, y'all went without bathing, and
Yeah.
and everyone was stinky, I guess.
Yeah. Well, we'd know because we all were the same.
Yeah, you all smelled the same, so you didn't
Right,
notice anybody
right.
else. Did you what about
I was being an MP, I had to keep myself clean shaven and all. It was a little different than the GIs up on the line. I had to have my shoes shined and everything. Of course, you could see it according to what the situation was. We couldn't shine the shoes because they were rough. So what we did, they had gas packs that it was like a cream. You're supposed to use it to keep gas out of your shoes, and I used to use that, and it kept the shoes looking like they were shined.
Did you suffer dysentery or any kind of
No,
illnesses? You got lucky
I
and
was young. I could handle all that. I think I'm getting the effects now, though. I got back problems now. I get cramps in my legs, and I look back and I say maybe it's because we were sleeping out there sometime in the snow with no heat.
you slept
and all that.
in. Did you have a
Oh,
cot or
yeah.
did you actually just
No.
sleep in the snow?
No, we slept in the snow.
Did you sleep next to somebody for warmth, or were you just sleeping by yourself?
No, we had there was always 2 men in a pup tent, so that it didn't keep you warm.
Did
didn't
you sleep
keep you
side by
warm.
side, or?
Yeah, pup tent's only a small thing.
Oh, okay.
So you had to be
It
touching
helped a
each other.
little bit to get a little bit of human warmth next to you.
And then we, being a military policeman, we were lucky because we'd go into these towns and they'd get billets for us. First of all, they had to find a place for the war room. Then they found a place for the general, right? They like McAuliffe, they had to find a place
So
for him.
you dealt with him regularly,
Oh,
are you?
yeah, well, we're right there all the time. Then they would get billets for us. They'd take over a house. The first thing they'd do is, when we'd go into town, everybody goes to the church. We'd get everybody out of the house and go to the church, and then we'd get these billets out. Because there's only more than one general. We had the main general, then you had artillery general, infantry general, always coming back and forth. So being a military policeman, a lot of times I was in a billet in the house, which wasn't bad. Like I showed you those farmers in Alsace, I lived in the house with them.
And this was very near the control post, right?
Oh, it was right there.
Okay.
Right there. You're right there with the CP, which is the
Okay.
command post.
Right next to the general,
Mm-hmm. So,
General McAuliffe.
General
After
McCullough. Right. Well, the first general was Hefner. I forget what his name was.
did you like the generals?
Oh yeah, well, General McAuliffe was a great guy. He was when
He's a legend.
when we were in Hungerburg, we had a Red Cross unit come up, and they started to serve the officers. And he came over and he said, he said, you want to serve people, you go to the enlisted men. The officers pay for their meals, they'll pay for their service. He got them out. He was
Wow.
he was a great general.
Wow, that is. Where did that happen again?
In Innsbruck, no,
At-
well, it was above Hungerberg.
Towards the end of the war, or
Yeah,
at the
it
end?
was at the end of it. Here he is. Here's General McCullough.
Is that how he looked?
Yep, that's exactly like he
He's
looked.
got piercing eyes, doesn't he?
There he is with the, now here is, that ain't him. There should be a
With the
picture.
cactus.
Yeah, that's the 103rd Division.
So the cactus, I guess, because where you were trained and brought up.
I don't know I don't know why they got a cactus on that, but on that patch. I think that, if I'm not mistaken, they're from the Middle West somewhere.
So you had all these. You knew all
Yeah,
these guys.
right. I didn't know them personally, but I'd see them all the time.
Were they all good generals, or did you have a bad encounter
Oh.
with any of them? Or?
Here's the first big general he's the one that came over with the division from the States.
Yeah.
I never had no run-in with none of the officers. I liked all the
Did you
officers.
just salute all of them as they came in? And
Right. Oh, yeah.
so you did a lot of saluting, and I guess
Yeah,
y'all were on
and
guard.
And how? Well, I
And-
went with General McAuliffe. We took 2 Jeeps when we got to the unit got to the Siegfried line. And it was hard to get through there. They brought up an artillery unit that had 280 millimeter guns. And when I talked to one of them said that it took them 6 hours just to set the gun up. And they were firing, I think, point blank at the Siegfried.
Yeah,
at the
I heard about that. I
pillboxes.
read about that. And
And,
blowing them up.
Yeah, and sometimes it wouldn't blow them up, but the concussion alone would kill the Germans. But we went over, I remember with General McAuliffe, his driver, and 2 MPs in 1 Jeep, and I was driving 1 Jeep with some more MPs in it. We went over to watch that when they were firing at. But he was a great man, General McAuliffe.
So you were with him when you saw the pillboxes being
Oh,
destroyed.
yeah, I was
Did
there.
you see any German survivors, or was it all
No, I didn't go to the pill.
Okay.
We were half a mile away from him.
using binoculars? I guess.
He was. General McAuliffe was looking through the binoculars and all.
Did he have anything to say to y'all, or was he just pretty much keeping to himself?
He just, I don't remember all of that.
Yeah.
But I remember if you were, the times that I was on duty in front of his headquarters, he'd always say something when he come out.
Like,
Mhm.
Did
He'd
he
say,
know your
"Good
name?"
morning, how you doing?" No, he didn't know me by my name.
he was a friendly man.
Oh, yeah,
Good general.
he sure was. He's going down in history as one of the better generals. Of course, what he did in
Bastogne.
in Bastogne, right?
Yeah. That really hurt that and drove those Germans crazy.
Right, and how.
They killed a lot of Germans trying to take Bastogne.
Well, the German soldier was a good soldier, though. They were good soldiers.
You mean they did, when you say good, they were disciplined, they didn't
They
have
were
much fear?
disciplined. They were disciplined men.
Did you
That's
run
it.
into any German soldiers prior to the surrender
Oh, yeah, sure.
in the prison?
Yeah, we had a big prison camp in Innsbruck. We had a big one. And then there was one, I said, not Epinal, in Besançon. I met some, I talked to some. In fact, I took some of the patches off of them.
Were they arrogant or were they
No,
friendly?
No, they were friendly. Well, they had to be. They were prisoners.
Yeah.
In Innsbruck, the prison camp in Innsbruck. Now, I was strictly traffic when I was in Innsbruck, but we had one part of our platoon took care of that prison camp, and I went down there one day, and they had a lot of the civilians were picking them out, saying that these guys, certain ones, were Nazi people and all that. So, but we had a lot of prisoners there.
Yeah. Were you responsible for taking the people to pick out the Nazis, or did you just have to?
that wasn't. I was strictly CP, guard, and traffic. Now,
Okay.
one of the things that surprised me, they made me direct traffic in the center of Innsbruck. Innsbruck's a big city. No, I was just a kid. I didn't know nothing about traffic. They said to me, there was a little stand that I had, and I said, "Now, you got to remember, ambulances come first, general officers are second, and then everybody." I didn't know what I was doing. I don't know how I got through that. I couldn't wait to get off of that.
It was one day? How many,
Just one day.
How many hours do
I
you
think
remember?
it was 4 hours on.
And it was real busy?
Was it ever? Well, all GIs, all convoys coming through.
In cars?
and-
Yeah.
well, there was a few. There was a few cars.
But a lot of-
mostly convoys, GI convoys.
What about your experience with wounded and men coming back from the line? Do you have any?
Well, they go right to the hospitals. We didn't see many of them. We had a first aid kit. We always not a kit. We always had a first aid station at the CP. And the thing I remember about that is any soldier that went to that first had to leave his rifle or whatever, his arm, had to leave him outside. You could not go into the first aid station with a weapon.
And do you ever remember any, mortar attacks on you or coming close to you?
Not mortar attack, I had air attacks.
Oh, really? Where
Yeah,
did you
we
have
were
air
in
attacks? In Italy?
It was I think it was Epinal. It was in Epinal. We were billeted in a stocking factory where they used to make stockings in this factory. And they had the Stuka dive bombers come down on us. And I'll tell you, talk about fright. A Stuka dive bomber has a siren. Now, I don't know where it is. It's either in the engine or in the wing, but as it comes down, all you hear is this piercing siren going off. And it scared the heck out of us. Luckily, nobody got hurt.
And when did that happen?
When we were in Epinal. I think it was Epinal.
And this would have been in spring, early spring, or
No, more in the fall.
fall of 44?
Yeah, fall of 44.
Wow, the Stukas, I'm
boy.
surprised they made it out of there alive with all the
Well,
anti-aircraft.
The Stuka was a good airplane. But it was more of an airplane to, I can't use the right word for it, but because of that siren, it really played heck with you.
Frightened
you.
you.
Scare you.
But it didn't do much good. Didn't
Well,
do any damage.
no, they were pretty accurate with it too. It's just that it demoralized people.
Yeah. Maybe that's why they were so successful in the Blitz with those
Yeah.
things, scaring people
Well, they
to
were
death.
successful in Poland and Czechoslovakia and all those places. They just ran through, and even in France. What did it take, 2
People
weeks,
just
3 weeks?
gave up, in a way.
France had the biggest army over in Europe, and what did it take, 6 weeks? They lost the war in 6 weeks.
I know it. That's unbelievable.
It was unbelievable.
What about R&R? Did you get rest and relaxation?
No, I
or-
didn't. I was unlucky that that's one thing I didn't get any R&R. Now, when we were in this one town, remember I told you that we thought we were retreating out of this town, Oak Modern? They picked 3 members from my unit to go to Paris on R&R, and I
Wow.
wasn't picked. So
How many members were in your unit?
We had a platoon, so that would what? It was
24?
7, 14, 21, no, more like 30. There was about 30 men, but we were split now. We weren't all in the CP. In fact, we had 4, no, maybe 5, that were farmed out to infantry units. And they were, in fact, they all got the infantry badge because they were in that, farmed out. They were really MPs from the 103rd Division, but they were farmed out to this infantry unit, the 3 infantry regiments. I guess they were training their MPs. So they all got infantry badges for that. Then when we were in Oberammergau, Germany, we loaned, I think it was I don't know if it was a company or a battalion, we loaned them to the 45th Division that went in Dachau. So some of
talked to
those,
a person who was
some
in
of
the
those
45th.
troops from my unit were in Dachau.
Yeah, I talked to a gentleman who was at Dachau.
Yeah. I took my daughter there to Dachau. Of course, this is in the 60s. I said to Maria, I said, we were in Munich. I said, let's take her to Dachau. She was 14. I said, in case people start to forget what happened. Who knew they were going to build all these museums? I didn't know at that time they were going to build all these museums. I said, I'll take her there so she'll know what happened.
What were you, during the conflict, were you ever afraid of your life other than the Stuka bombers?
I was always not afraid because I was too young to be afraid. When you're that age, you never think anything's going to happen to you. So I was never really afraid, but I always had that little tension. And the Army keeps you, the Army always keeps you ahead of schedule. Like, no matter when the nighttime came, they give you the password, and they said, now be careful, we understand German paratroopers are around. Now, we never knew whether that was true or not, see? So you always had that feeling, hey, we better watch out. These German paratroopers might be here.
Yeah.
So every night they'd come out with something different.
So you always were on edge.
So they always keep you on edge.
And what type of rifle did you carry when you were guarding the CP?
Well, when I was at the division CP, I had a pistol. I had a 45. But when I was patrolling the area, I had regular M1.
And did you ever have to fire it?
No, I never fired M1. I was lucky.
Yeah. Well, that was an important job too, you know.
Well, it
was all an team effort.
I think it's only 10% of the troops that's actually up in the line. Everybody else is a support.
Yeah.
It takes everybody.
Yeah.
But I lucked out. They could have just as well put me in an armored unit because I had armored training. So they could have put me in an armored unit.
Yep. Yep. That would have been bad.
That would have been, tell me about it. Especially, we didn't have any good tanks.
The
I think at
Sherman.
the end of the war, at the very end of the war, they came out with a nuke tank. I remember seeing them that had 90-millimeter guns on. They were pretty good. But
Yeah.
they were low silhouetted and all. But the Shermans, boy,
They just got it.
they were bad. I felt sorry for the kids in those things.
Now, when you were driving on with the truck, what were the roads like? Was it pretty?
Well, they mainly in France, they were pretty good. They were the old tree-line roads. They were pretty good. And they managed to get us in convoy. They managed to pick out the best roads.
So you were always in convoy with the troops?
Well, yeah, we were always together with the.
Yeah. Did you have any defense? I guess there wasn't any need since German air power was so.
We always had. When I was at the when I was bringing troops out, we didn't have any because we were behind the lines.
Yeah.
But when I was with the 103rd, we always had defense with us. We had when we were moving up, they had some of these trucks that had that had a little trailer in the back, and on this trailer was a set of machine guns. I don't remember, probably 30s, and they were electrified. You know, the gunner would sit there, and he could move this thing up and down and around. And they always, when we were in combat, they were always with us. In fact, we were traveling around Seefeld, Austria, and it was real foggy and all, and we heard this airplane. Convoy stopped. We heard this airplane up there just groaning away, but couldn't see it because it was too foggy. And I guess this pilot must have been lost because he just kept droning around, and this kid that was on the gunner, he kept listening to it, and he kept moving the guns, right around, following the noise. And finally, that airplane broke through the clouds, and this guy let go. He actually shot that thing down.
What kind of plane was it?
I don't know. I think it was the Focke-Wulf plane. It wasn't a Mercedes.
German?
Yeah, it was a German plane. But he waited. He just kept them guns on the sound of it. And once it broke through, he just
let it
opened
go.
up and shot it down.
How did he know it was a German plane?
Well, they were trained in that.
To hear the noise?
Before we went overseas, I remember one of the last things they trained us in is recognition. And what they did was you sit down, they got a big screen up, and they show you a German Messerschmitt plane, and they'll show it to you, right? And you look at it, and the instructor tell you all the things about it. Look for this, look for that. Then he'll show you another one, another plane, Focke-Wulf, and he'll show you all the attributes and so everything that's, stands out on it. They show you a bunch of these airplanes. Then what they'll do is they'll flash it on a screen for half a minute, and yeah, it's a Messerschmitt, and that's a Focke-Wulf. And as time goes on, he's flashing it shorter and shorter. Then by the time it's over, he's just flashed maybe 2 or 3 seconds is all you see in that airplane, and you're trying to see what distinguish what it is, which I never could anyway.
Was it a silhouette or a picture?
It was a picture of an airplane.
So it broke through the clouds. I guess it had to come in low if it was foggy.
It was low, yeah. He was low. Well, Seefeld is up in the mountains. You heard of Garmisch-Partenkirchen?
No.
Right now it's an R&R place for this. It's between the border of Austria and Germany. And it's high. You're high up in the mountains. So he must have been lost. I guess he couldn't find his way out. So he just kept looking for a place. And when he broke through the clouds, he had it.
That was it. So he was probably coming down to try to get a landmark to figure
I
out where he
wouldn't be
was.
surprised.
And he broke through right in the wrong place.
He did. We were going into Innsbruck when that happened.
Did you see? I was going to say, did you see the plane crash?
No, I just saw it coming down.
Okay.
We were going in Seefeld. The Germans blew the roads out. I think they had a military school somewhere in that area, and it was comparable to our West Point. So these young kids, when we were getting close, they blew the darn roads out. And if you get up in that area, the drops are tremendous, 300-400 feet down. So we had to wait for the engineers to see. We were heading towards Innsbruck. We had to wait for the engineers to redo these roads so we can get there. So, like I said, when we got into Innsbruck, they surrendered Innsbruck to us. We sent some officers in, and I don't know how they contacted the Germans, but they surrendered. And Innsbruck's a big city. So when we entered Innsbruck, the German soldiers, MPs were still directing traffic and all. So we'd come in, and the German would be directing traffic, and we'd stop, and we'd take his weapon, put him in our truck, and put one of our men there. But there was a real unique experience.
So you were there for that?
Yeah, it was a real unique experience to see that.
Where did they, do you remember what they put you doing? Or were you just making sure, you were just going around, driving around?
The first thing we did when we entered a town was go through every house to make sure there wasn't any Germans in it, you know, and all that. Even in Alsace and in France. First thing we did, go into the houses, empty the houses, send the people to the church, and then we used them as billets.
And were you one of the people who went into the house to make sure?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That was, I guess, the most dangerous assignment, is going into those houses.
You had to be frightened.
Yeah, you never knew who was in there.
Did you have your M1 or your?
Yeah, M1. No, the only time I used a 45 is if I was in front of the general's headquarters there, you know, his house.
Otherwise, you had to Garen.
Yeah, because you had to look good in front of the general's place, so you carried a 45 pistol. But I think there was a picture in here, like one of the guys in front of his place. We missed it, though.
Yeah.
There's a picture here. This was in Hungerberg, where it was General McAuliffe's headquarters. It's got to be in the back of the book somewhere. Let me see where the heck that was. Here's the people in Innsbruck. Remember I was showing you those pictures we took?
Yeah.
Let's see. These are people here that were prisoners.
Yeah.
Here's the Brenner pad. Now on the other side of there was the 88th Division. Right on the other side of Brenner.
Yeah, my granddad was there, right there. Is that a typical stance when y'all were at the CP?
Yeah. Well, this ain't the CP. This is at Brenner Pass.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see. I guess that guy must be in the 88th Division here. Has he got a patch on?
Yep.
Can you see his patch?
Well,
I can't see what it is.
I can't see it.
He's probably an 88th Division soldier. Because this is the 103rd here.
No, I sure can't see it.
Too bad.
Did you guys do any skiing?
I don't know how to ski, but they did. Some of the guys did. The war's over now. That little church. Here's when what's his name came in. Yeah, we can show you this. There's General Hafner. Oh, it's got to be there somewhere. General, where the heck are you? I didn't know what I was doing.
That's where you were directing traffic? Okay.
Right in the heart of Innsbruck.
Wow. And there's an aerial shot of Innsbruck from the mountain.
Right, this here is Innsbruck from the Helicopter.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on. And this is the top of the mountain here. This is where they made this into an R&R for us after VE Day. When VE Day came...
Is that the new tank?
This one here is right. See, that ain't the Sherman. Remember I said that towards the end of the war
low
they come out with
silhouette
see the low silhouette? That's a 90 millimeter.
That looks like a Tiger.
Doesn't it? It looks like it. That's what I thought it was when I first saw it. In fact, I gave an alert once, and they called me down for it. I said, there's tigers coming up the road. I thought it was a Tiger tank. Yeah. I wish I could see that patch on that. It might have been the 88th. I don't see why we'd have two of our soldiers there, one on each side of the border.
It doesn't look like that.
That's got to be
But
the
there's-
88th. What,
yeah.
what patch? What does it look like? The 88th?
It's a blue four-leaf clover. It's dark. It's contained in a circle. I just don't see anything there. It doesn't look like a cactus. But
No, it ain't a cactus. That's got to be the 88th Division. It's probably a four-leaf clover. Look at it through the magnifying glass.
yeah, maybe.
Right? It looks like a little dark spot there.
Yeah, I can see a little dark spot.
Mhm.
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
probably it.
And you could have met my granddad 60 years ago.
Maybe. Who knows? It could have.
He could have been one of those guys
Right.
coming through town. You never know.
These are those English people that was in that prison camp.
How in the world did they get middle-class bourgeoisie English people?
That's all the generals. Jeep and we came across a roadblock,
Yeah.
and it scared the heck out of us, you know.
'Cause you didn't know if it was German.
Well,